Okay, we are in the middle of Torah Chet. Torah Chet called Ra'iti Menorat Zahav. We are in part 11, Yud Aleph, the final part of this Torah. Okay, so here what Rabbi Nachman is doing is he's giving us a bunch of rimazim, a bunch of hints. He's showing how certain aspects of this Torah are how they fit into different psukim, and we can learn a lot of things from that. So let's see here. He brings this pasuk that we spoke about at the end of last year. מכנף הארץ זמירות שמענו צבי לצדיק ואומר רזי לי אוי לי בוגדים בגדו ובגד בוגדים בגדו. Right, from the corner of the earth we heard songs. That's מכנף הארץ זמירות שמענו. צבי לצדיק means glory to the tzadikim, to the righteous. ואומר but I said רזי לי, a secret to me. רזי לי, a secret to me. Oili, woe upon me. Bogdim bagadu, the traitors have betrayed. Uveged bogdim bagadu, and also those that betray the traitors also have betrayed. Okay, so Rabbi Nachman says, "Zeh bechinat kanfei atzitzit shesham haruach chaim, shu bechinat kino shel David, shaya minagen al yedei haruach tzfonit." So this the corners of the earth is representing the corners of the tzitzit. The four corners of the tzitzit represent the four corners of the earth. And the four corners of the earth really are the four elements that the earth is based on. The whole earth, everything in it, is all made up of these four elements, which is, at its source, the four corners of the tzitzit. And those are the four channels through which we draw the life energy, the breath of life, the breath of Hashem. And so that's where the Ruach Chaim, the spirit of life, the breath of life, is drawn from, through these four corners of the tzitzit. And that is the aspect of the harp of David that would play by itself through the northern wind. The northern wind is the breath of Hashem, the breath of life that fulfills all of our wishes, that fills up the void and fulfills all of our wishes. And that is the secret of this harp of David that is played, the 5 strings of the harp of David that is played by this northern wind. Okay, so this is the source of all song. What is song all about? Song is about praise, about thanking Hashem. When a person experiences a miracle, a person experiences, even if it's not in a miraculous or supernatural way, but even whenever a person experiences their needs being fulfilled, their wishes being fulfilled, they feel this appreciation, and this is supposed to bring you to sing to Hashem. Now, we also know that it's extremely important for a person to constantly be singing to Hashem, not only for the things that you have, but because you trust in Hashem so much and so clearly that He is going to give you all that you need and all that you wish for, so you can already now begin to thank Hashem for that and sing to Hashem for that. Okay, but that's a side point. The point here is that song itself is the fulfillment. It's the effect of all wishes fulfilled. And that's why this is the secret of the harp of David. The harp of David is a source for all song, and the reason is because what brings the music out of the harp of David is this northern wind, which we said is representing, it's alluding to the breath of Hashem, the breath of life that fulfills all of our wishes, fills up the void and removes all deficiencies. And that in itself is what causes song, because that's what song is all about, is when the void is filled, when all the needs are fulfilled, all our wishes are fulfilled. וזהו זמירות שמענו בחינת הניגון של כינו של דוד, שהוא בחינת הרוח חיים, שהוא בחינת כנפי הציצית, בחינת מכנף הארץ, ועל ידי זה מכניעין הרשעים, מבחינת לחוז בכנפות הארץ וינערו רשעים ממנה. So this is the song that we see in this pasuk. What did the pasuk say? From the corners of the earth we heard song. From the corners of the earth is that northern wind that comes from the combination. It comes through the 4 corners of the tzitzit. And then we hear song, because that fills the void and that fulfills our wishes, and then we hear song. That's what song comes from. Just like the harp of David was played through the fulfillment of the wishes, the drawing of that breath. Okay? And through this, when we draw from this breath of life, what happens is that when we draw from this breath of life, we have the power to subdue the wicked, to overcome the Rishaim. Okay, and that's what the continuation of the pasuk says. Lechos bechanfot haaretz. I'm sorry. That's what there's another pasuk that says that Hashem is going to hold the corners of the land and shake it like a talit, and all of the wicked are going to fall away. So this happens through the talit. When we draw the breath of life through the four corners of the earth, the four elements which are represented in the four corners of the tzitzit, of the four corners of the talit, then the wicked are subdued and they are shaken off of the land. They are shaken off of their four channels through which they draw their life energy. Okay, and so now let's see how this fits into the continuation, the rest of this pasuk. V'zeu, tzvila tzaddik. Tzvila tzaddik means glory to the righteous, right? So what does Rashi explain on that pasuk, on those words in this pasuk that we're explaining? Perish Rashi, atid liot matzav u'tkuma letzadikim. What does it mean, glory for the tzaddik? Says the Rashi, that eventually there will be a firm position, a firm standing for the tzaddikim. Okay? Atid liot kuma letzadikim. There will be a matzav, is firm standing, and a firm position, and also erecting and elevating the tzaddikim. Okay, so that's basically, as much as you see that now the Rishaim are subdued, that's not always, right? When they draw the breath of life, they are able to do that same. They are able to shift that over to the Rishaim, and then the Rishaim, the wicked, will be subdued, and the tzaddikim will have, as we see in the pasuk, tzvila tzaddik. That's the effect of drawing from the breath of life, the breath of Hashem. You have glory of the tzaddikim, this standing upright for the tzaddikim. Okay. Through drawing this breath of life, the tzaddikim overcome the wicked. Oili, Peresh Rashi sheniglu li shne razim, raz puraniyut v'raz yeshua. Bariticha keyeshua ad v'chulu haynu kanal. כי הרוח של הרשע גדול בשעתו, מבחינת רוח שערה, שמשם כל הצרות, בעריכת הגלות של ישראל. So what did we see in that next words of the pasuk? And I said, a secret to me, a secret to me, a secret to me, woe unto me. What's the secret and the secret? Why double secret? The Torah doesn't use any word as that is not needed. The Torah is never redundant. Every word, there's a meaning for it. It doesn't just say something twice just because it sounds nice, right? So what does it mean, a secret to me, a secret to me? What are these two secrets? So Rashi explains on those words, and he says that it was revealed to me two secrets: a secret of suffering and a secret of salvation. Raz puranut v'raz yeshua. Puranut is suffering and Yeshua is salvation. So says Rabbi Nachman, this is exactly what we're speaking about. We're saying how there is the Rasha on the one hand, and he draws the breath that will bring him his strength and his power, and we said that his strength and his power is compared to the wind of the storm, which is powerful in its time. At that time, it's temporary. It's temporary time. It's powerful, and it overcomes the tzaddikim. Okay, we've seen that throughout history many times, where the wicked were extremely powerful, and they overcame the holy ones, the saints, the tzaddikim, the righteous people, Bnei Israel. And on the other hand, you also have the breath of Hashem that is drawn by the tzaddikim through the purified, the pure and holy four corners of the earth, the four elements, the four corners of the tzitzit. And when they draw that, so they are able to shift that destruction onto the wicked, and then the tzaddikim are elevated. As we spoke about how when one goes up, the other one goes down. And when the other one goes up, that one goes down, right? So when Yerushalayim is rebuilt, the Gemara says, Romi, which is Rome, will be destroyed. So that's the Yaakov and Esav. When Yaakov is above, Esav must fall. So these are the two secrets that he is aware of. The secret of suffering on the one hand, the secret of suffering, and the secret of salvation. And it's either or. So when you draw from the breath of life through the tzaddik, through the Torah, you are in effect not only fulfilling all of your wishes, drawing that breath to fill the void by you, but you're also causing destruction to subdue the wicked. Okay? Vezeu bogdim bagadu, and that's exactly the next part of the pasuk, says Rabbi Nachman. Vezeu bogdim bagadu, oveged bogdim bagadu. Okay, what did we say about those words? Interesting words. Bogdim bagadu means that the traitors betrayed. Ubeged bogdim bagadu, and those who betrayed the traitors also betrayed. Okay, have also been betrayed. So bogdim bagadu, the traitors have betrayed. Ubeged bogdim, and the traitors of the traitors, those that betrayed the traitors, have also been betrayed. Okay, says Rabbi Nachman, ki nikata bogdim v'reshaim hu mibchinat pegam ha'begadim, dahaynu pegam ha'tzitzit, shehem bechanfei ha'beged, dahaynu midgam ha'arba'a yisodot, she'achizatan v'shorsham ha'elyon hu b'chinat arba tzitzit kanal. So says Rabbi Nachman, all of the traitors in the world have one thing in common. All of the traitors in the world, they have one thing in common, and that is that they draw their energy from the blemish or the corrupted state of the four corners of the tzitzit. When the four corners of the tzitzit, which we said are those four channels, the four elements, when they're taken and they're corrupted and expressed in negative ways, which we had that whole shiur where we spoke about the different ways, the positive ways of using the four elements and the negative ways. So when they are taken and corrupted and expressed in a negative way, which is all the negative ways of living life, the destructive ways of living life, and all the bad midot, so that is where all of the traitors are drawing their energy. And that's why the same word for traitors, bogdim, is the same word as begadim, same letters as the word begadim, which is the clothing, which is the four corners of the beged of the tzitzit. And that's where they are attached to, that's where they draw, that's where they breathe from. They breathe through the corrupted form, the corrupted state of these four corners of the tzitzit. Says Rabbi Nachman, but don't worry. Look at what the end of the pasuk says. Aval sof kol sof. At the end, what does the pasuk say? Pachat v'fachat v'fach alecha yoshev haaretz. Fear and the pit and the trap is upon you, those that inhabit the land. Okay, so that means that those that inhabit the land, that right now they're taking control of the land, which is supposed to be the land of Hashem, right? Okay, we saw earlier that what Hashem does, he takes the four corners of the land and he shakes it like a talit, and all of the wicked, they fall off of it, right? So that's what he's saying here. He says, fear and the pit and the trap is upon you, those that are inhabiting the land, those wicked people. It says Rabbi Nachman, ki harishayim yicheu v'yipolu, ki lasof kaleh v'ne'evad, the wicked will be subdued and humbled and fall away, right? Because in the end, the wicked and the evil will be destroyed, will dissolve. Hashem will dissolve all evil. כי הצדיקים גמורים מכניעים אותם ומשפילים רשעים עד הארץ על ידי הרוח החיים שלהם, שהוא בחינת ציצית, בחינת מכנף הארץ, זמירות שמענו כנ"ל, because the tzadikim subdue the rishayim and they overcome them and they cast them down to the ground, as those words casting them down to the ground. Mashpil rishayim ade aretz, we said the first letters of those four words is the same four letters that begin the four elements, right? Mashpil rishayim ad aretz, mem resh ayin aleph is the beginning letters for the mayim, ruach, afar, and eish, right? And so when they draw the breath of life through the rectified state, the Yud Kei Vav Kei state of these four elements, then they are casting the wicked down into the ground and off of the earth. Okay. Now says Rabbi Nachman, Kino shel chamesh nimin bechinat Torah, bechen katuv bazvar betofsei Torah ilu netafsin bechinora. Rabbi Nachman mentioned earlier in the Torah about the harp of David HaMelech that had 5 strings to it, and that represents the 5 books of the Torah, Chamishei Chumshei Torah. And it says Rabbi Nachman, this is actually in the Zohar. I'm not saying this for myself. This is actually the Zohar. The Zohar says, "V'tofsei Torah ilun detafsin bechinora." Those that hold on to the Torah, the Zohar says they are the people. He calls them. The Zohar calls the people that are holding on to the Torah the people that are holding onto the harp. So the harp of David represents the 5 books of the Torah. Chamesh unei itlarea, and this is also corresponding to the lungs. Rabbi Nachman speaks about this a few times in Likutei Moharan, that the lungs of a person there are 5 rings, on the 5 rings on top of the lungs, which is, I'm not sure if it's part of the voice box or it's connected to the voice box, but this is the way that the Torah and the Gemara and the Zohar describes the lungs, that there are these 5 lobes to the lungs, okay? Chamisha unei itlerea, and this is obviously corresponding to the 5 books of the Torah and the 5 strings of the harp of David, and that's why the northern wind that we said is the breath of Hashem comes into the lungs and it fills the void, and it comes into the harp of David and it sings the song, because when the void is filled, when all the wishes are fulfilled, that's when you hear the song of the Torah, the song of Hashem's abundance and blessing being manifested in our lives. So now this is what he says. Now he's connecting it to the 5 lobes of the 5 rings of the lungs. Chamish une itlaria ki aruach chaim hu be'aria, because this breath of life is drawn into the lungs. Umisham amshachat haruach shel hanacha, and this is exactly where this whole mechanism is happening that we're speaking about in this Torah. The sigh is all connected to the lungs. You're breathing deeply into the lungs. Kayadua bechush, you can tell this. He says this is known. You can experience this. You can feel this, how it's drawn into your lungs when you take the deep breath and when you sigh. Valken itla chamesh une larea keneged chamisha chumshei Torah chamisha nimin lechinot David. And that's why there are these 5 lobes, these 5 rings to the lungs, which is corresponding to the 5 books of the Torah, which is corresponding to the 5 strings of the harp of David. Shesham ruach chaim kanal, which is where the breath of life is drawn into. And then he brings here in the brackets, he says, look at the tikkunim. Tikkunim is the tikkunei Zohar. Rabbi Nachman bases a lot of things, means a lot of things from the tikkunei Zohar. And he says there, kanfei mitzvah, the corners of the mitzvah, inun chamesh kishrin nekabel shema. Shema Yisrael. Shema v'chulu inun nekabel chamisha nimin lechinot David, ayin sham. Right? So he says that the corners of the mitzvah have 5 knots, corresponding to the words Shema Yisrael, Hashem, Elokeinu Hashem. Okay, so Shema Yisrael has 2 parts to it. There's Shema Yisrael. In the Kavanot, you have Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem, and that's 5 words. And the 5th word is the absolute complete. The 6th word is the absolute complete unification, Echad. So the first 5 words of Kriyat Shema is corresponding in this tremendous secret, what we see here, just in one line that he puts at the end of the Torah. It's unbelievable what he is pointing to. The Tikkun Ezra says the first 5 Kriyat Shema, the first pasuk of Kriyat Shema, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It has 6 words. The first 5 words of the Kriyat Shema, says the Zohar, is corresponding to the 5 knots. If you take out your tzitzit, you see you have 5 knots. There's 1 knot right at the beginning, and then you have going around, you have another one, you have another 4. So altogether it's 5. Each one of the corners have 5 knots. Those 5 knots represent the 5 words of Kriyat Shema, okay, which is revealing Hashem's oneness in the world. That's what it's all about. When you come to the 6th word, the 6th word is the absolute unification, where there is no world. There is nothing but Hashem's existence. Okay, the first 5 words is revealing Hashem's unification in the world. Okay, that everything is part of Hashem and seeing Hashem everywhere. And then you come to the 6th word, and there's absolute unity. There's nothing but Hashem. Okay, so these first 5 words of Kriyat Shema represent the 5 knots in each 4 of the corners of the tzitzit, which is all about showing Hashem's godliness, revealing Hashem's godliness within the world. Right? That's the positive way of expressing the 4 elements. That's what it's representing. But when you come to the sixth word, that's the echad, and that's the actual breath of life that comes in and brings life into all of it. Okay, and that's the absolute unity, where there is no world, there only Hashem's oneness. Okay, so that's what it represents. That's the secret of the 5 words of Kriyat Shema. The first 5 words of Kriyat Shema. It's the 5 strings of the harp of David. It's the 5 lobes of the lungs, and it's also the 5 knots on each one of the 4 corners of the tzitzit. And that is the end of Torah Chet. Beautiful. Wonderful.